Welcome to the Cosmic Connection. What you're about to hear and see on this program may disturb you. Please keep an open mind, for you may find that the information disseminated on the Cosmic Connection different from anything in your past experience. The views and opinions on the Cosmic Connection are not necessarily those of the organization broadcasting this program. Neither are they the views of the government, which seeks to suppress the investigation of the subject of unidentified flying objects. These are not the opinions of hucksters and charlatans who co-opt the importance of this message by their vain attempts to rip off the public through fear and misinformation. The term which best describes this program is from the Latin fiat lux, which means let there be light.
This is Toronto International Airport information Delta. Toronto weather 6,000 scattered, 14,000 scattered, visibility 25 miles. Temperature 62.12. Wind is calm. Toronto altimeter 29.90. Yes, our approach is ILS 23 left. Landing runway for VFR aircraft 23 right. Approach runway 23 right. For aircraft flying VFR in the Toronto area to approach sector 23. Inform ATC on initial contact. Received information Delta.
Okay, if I said they were in intersection, that would accept the intersection, say
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Cosmic Connection, your UFO connection for the Pacific Northwest, here on the CAN network, the Community Access Network, Channel 11. We're live 6 p.m. March 12th, Sunday. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We have in-guest studios by the name of Bob, John, and of course Dennis is here with us today. We invite you to give us a call at 667-7434, and our new program will be airing March 8th on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Channel 21. For those of you who normally catch us in your Portland area on Channel 11, we'll be able to view that on Friday nights at 11 p.m. So that'll be April 21st, Friday, is the next time you are going to be able to view this program on Channel 11. All other times for the next season will be on Channel 21, live in the Gresham area. Okay, I have a brief outline of some of the topics we're going to cover today. We have an open forum dealing with the Cosmic Connection on UFOs. Whilst we must remain suspicious, this is allegedly the background to the film. Several canisters of mid-1940s movies footage was apparently copied by an official U.S. Air Force photographer and stored secretly until now. The canisters contain several reels of film which allegedly depict UFO crash sites and debris. More interestingly, however, is the autopsy of at least two humanoid figures, 5 feet 7 inches tall and 3.6 feet respectively. One sequence shows two surgeons apparently appearing to take thin strips of skin from a tall humanoid figure who has a large oval-shaped head and black oval-shaped eyes. Together with other strips of skin, these were placed in a sealed glass container. In the background can be seen an armed military sentry wearing a coverall. The environment was dark and gloomy, apparently resembling a field-type hospital tent, illuminated by paraffin-lit pressure lamps. The 76-year-old former U.S. Army veteran had met a British television producer who was searching archival material. This elderly man, appreciating the significance of the footage whilst at the same time recognizing perhaps his last opportunity to capitalize on his good fortune, entered into an agreement which would see him financially secure during his twilight years. Over 100 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, of film exists, and negotiations have already taken place to release significant sections in the near future. Six-figure sums are involved, but this has now become a multinational chase for exclusive rights between British, America, and Japanese media corporations. It is also believed that some of the data is related to the infamous Roswell UFO crash, which purportedly occurred in 1947. Most remarkably of all is the revelation that then President of the United States, Harry S. Truman, can clearly be seen wandering amongst wreckage of a crash site which could well be linked to Roswell and or Corona, New Mexico. Dennis, you gave me that. How are you doing, my friend?
Real fine.
What was that all about?
Well, apparently there's some movie footage out that if it's real, this could be the big one. And it's long as we're on the subject of Roswell, we have a couple of expert Roswell investigators with us today. John and Bob.
Welcome to the Cosmic Connection, gentlemen.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Yep, nice to be here.
Very good. I understand that both of you gentlemen have done some research into the Roswell. Tell our particular audience a basic outline of what Roswell is, dealing with the movie that we've seen recently on the Showtime channels, and what new significant cover-ups that we've found.
Okay, Roswell is
John, thank you.
Roswell is probably the most famous UFO event in history. It happened back in 1947, and it's intriguing because anybody who's interested can go back and look at the old newspaper archives, for example, at the Oregonian, and read the headlines that said the United States had actually captured a flying saucer. Now, this came from the 509th Bomb Group, and that's just not any military outfit. That is the outfit that was the first organization in the U.S. to have the atomic bomb in their arsenal. They were the atomic bomb training wing. Now, what happened was around the 4th of July back in 1947, something fell out of the sky near Roswell. And so the United States initially put out a press release around the world, like I mentioned, that they had actually captured a flying saucer. But about 6 hours later, the head of the Air Force, General Ramey, said, nope, it's a mistake. It's only a weather balloon. And so it stayed that way for quite a while until researchers eventually resurrected that back in the early 1980s. And we're seeing more and more information come out, for example, this movie footage you talked about earlier.
Sure. Thank you very much. Very detailed and outlined, short to the point. I understand we have an excellent question on line one. Now, do you want to patch that through?
Yeah.
Hello, welcome to the Cosmic Connection. Speak up, please.
Hi, my name's Cole Younger, and one day I was snowboarding up on Mount Hood at night, and I saw this big triangular-shaped thing. It came over the top of the mountain, and it had lights around the whole perimeter of it, and it was glowing pink. And I just wanted to know if it could have been a UFO or if it was a plane or such.
Well, what do you think it was?
Well, I thought it was a UFO to me because it looked totally like one because the lights were gleaming on the outside and stuff.
Are you familiar with the Roswell incident of the guest that we have today?
I read an article about it once in a UFO book, but I really don't know much about it.
Sure. Have you seen any of the movies?
Just about UFOs or the incident itself?
Well, if you could have one question for someone who's investigated the Roswell episode, what would that be?
I was just wondering, why does the government have to cover up all the UFO sightings?
Very good. And we thank you very much.
Okay. Bye.
Bob, why does the government want to keep this covered?
Well, that's a huge question. If anybody's got the hard answer, I'd sure like to know. Probably litigative type situations, people taking responsibility when they're not supposed to, et cetera, et cetera. Probably had social implications there where right after World War II, they had a lot of paranoia with Cold War situation.
Well,
So
didn't they commission a study to find out what would happen if they did come across extraterrestrials? What did it do to our society?
Yeah, that's
and
right.
that official report that they commissioned told them to keep quiet. For various reasons, I guess uppermost being panic, disruption of the social fabric, and maybe even financial collapse also.
Yeah, interestingly enough, that was a study done back in the early 1960s for NASA because, as you know, that's when the NASA Moon Project was beginning to really ramp up. And so NASA commissioned an organization to say, well, what should we do if things are suddenly uncovered having to do with extraterrestrial evidence of extraterrestrial life?
We're referring to the Brookings report.
That's right, the Brookings Institute report. And in fact, I've got a copy of the report, and right there in black and white it says it should be, in so many words, suppressed because of the potential impact on society, at least initially suppressed. And so maybe that's what the basis of the cover-up is right now.
Now, as far as investigators go, we have little feuds between certain participants looking for the truth, such as between Stanton Friedman and other members. There are like little rifts of who has the bigger slice of the pie. This should be a group effort. What can we say on I imagine there are several camps out there looking for the truth, and who could our audience be interested in, and whose work?
There's, well, you got Stanton's work, you got Donald Schmidt and Kevin Randall's work, and then you got the Fund for UFO Research's work. So any of those will give you kind of a good varied background at the different angles that people looked at it. Not agreeing with any other conclusions, but the data is there, and what they do with it, you know, you follow it or you don't.
Sure.
What would be a good book to start off with that you'd recommend for somebody taking a first look at this?
Oh, right there, The Truth About the UFO Crash at Roswell, no doubt about it.
All right, I understand we have a call. Welcome to the Cosmic Connection. Hello.
Hello. You talking to me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you about an incident that occurred in 1968 off the coast of Vietnam.
Please do. Speak up, please, and tell us your name.
Yeah, my name is Richard. I'm from Gladstone.
Hello, Richard.
I was stationed on the USS Forester, plane guarding for the Enterprise off the coast of Vietnam in 1968. There was myself, the Enterprise, and 3 other ships, most of them destroyers. We're all on a fantail at night, kind of goofing off and smoking and joking, kind of relaxed time. And whenever you have a series of ships together in formation, there's kind of a low hum. There's always this low hum of all the noise from the ships. And off on the horizon, we saw this light, and it just stayed there, and it attracted our attention enough to where all of us that were on the fantail were watching this light, and it was like it took less time than a second or two. Came right over the top of all of the ships. All the lights went out, the power went out, ships turned in different directions.
No kidding.
There was almost collisions. I mean, all the power on the ship went off. Not like that, but I mean, because it was night. And then it went in the opposite direction, kind of like a 45-degree angle, went right back to the other horizon behind us and disappeared. And the lights came back on, all the ships came back running again. We were told the next day that it was some kind of a test and that we shouldn't tell anybody about it and keep our mouth shut and bury it, and anybody that mentions it will be brought up on charges, and I let it lay for a long time, and now I don't care. I'm out of the service.
Sure.
You know, it's like this is baloney.
Could you tell us what year that happened in?
1968.
And the month?
Let's see. We were plane guarding. Must have been March.
And this was an afternoon or an evening sighting?
This was night. This was probably, it was on after the night watch, probably midnight.
And the name of your ship, please?
USS Forester.
Right, thank you. All right, I'm sorry about that. I didn't catch that.
That's okay.
Dennis?
And so it sounds like this light displayed speeds and maneuvers that really alerted you to the fact that this was something unusual.
Oh, this wasn't something that we owned.
Sure.
This was something that was owned by a civilization or a group of people that were testing something that was far beyond our capabilities. I mean,
so in a rough ballpark estimation, it was roughly traveling thousands of miles an hour and doing things that our present-day technology cannot do.
Oh yeah.
Did you get a good look at the craft? Can you tell us what it looked like?
All it was a light. It was a light that came from the horizon overhead, and it had a ring of lights on the outside of it, a bright white light. It had a ring of lights on the outside of it, and it lasted for the count of 10, the whole incident, 10 seconds. Probably from the time that we saw it, we all went, whoa, look at that. And then it came right up over the top of the ships, the noises stopped, the lights went out, and 5 seconds later, it was gone to the other horizon and disappeared.
A circular craft, or was it not circular?
Pardon me?
Could you tell what the shape of the craft was?
Yeah, it was circular.
Okay.
And it was noiseless, not a sound.
Richard, I have heard reports of United States Air Force chasing after North Vietnam helicopters during the Vietnam War campaign. As I understand it, Vietnam did not have very many helicopters, or helicopters that were of combat or surveillance type capabilities. Were you ever aware of this, or gentlemen, have you ever heard of this scenario?
I've heard the scenario of fighter pilots in Vietnam chasing after Vietnamese helicopters, but most of the helicopters that the Vietnamese had weren't fast enough to outrun our craft.
Absolutely.
So if they're outrunning our craft, guess what?
You know, there was an interesting incident the other night. There's an organization in Seattle called the National UFO Hotline Service, and they got a call from Portland on Friday night, which I happened to get information on Saturday morning. It'd be interesting if any of our viewers happen to see the sighting. It was between 9:45 and 10 o'clock on Friday night. There was a very large object, the shape of a cone, that went over Portland to the south. And the witness, who sounded fairly credible to me, indicated that about 7 minutes later, 3 F-16s were going along the same trajectory, trying to catch up with it. So I'd be curious to know if anybody happened to see that sighting, because it was a very intriguing sighting.
Yeah, just as a side note, we thought the 10 or 15 of us that were out on the fantail, we thought that this was just something that was privy to ourselves, that nobody else saw it. When we went into Nha Trang, which was a military hospital base in Vietnam, to party and have fun, we met some other people. Some of the people that were on the Enterprise, and there was the 4-star was there, and maybe 15 or 20 other people that we met in a couple of the bars in town had also, witnessed it, and they were kind of standoffish as we were because of the notification that came down. Shoot, I was only 20,
Sure.
Maybe 18.
Now, please, since I've never heard this scenario with the UFO sighting about these major ships having power blackouts and driving off course. Tell us about some of the maneuvers the ships did. They were just free floating without power?
I don't know if you own a boat, but if you get in a boat and you're powering this boat and you shut the motor off, your boat's going to go where it wants to. You're not going to have hardly any steering at all, and what steering that you do have is going to be just very minimal.
And we're speaking of warships, massive ships.
We're speaking of tonnage, yes.
Very interesting. I've never heard that scenario.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Richard.
It was scary to us because everything got real quiet. I don't know if you've ever been out in the middle of the ocean at midnight, but when you don't see any land around and you're with 7 or 8 or 4 or 5 different ships, you've got this low din, this hum of the motors from these ships. When those motors all of a sudden cut off, it's like your ears, something's wrong with your ears, something goes bad. All you can hear is just the water sloshing. And it's kind of eerie.
Well, we'd like to follow up on this report. If you'd do us the favor of calling us back after the show goes off there, call us back and we can make arrangements to contact you and follow up more on this. We're very interested in it.
Sure.
And it's very possible we could find somebody here in the Portland area who may have just by coincidence, you never know.
Sure. I haven't kept contact with any of my sea buddies, so I don't know. But
all right. Well, Richard, please call us after the program on the same number. We'd be happy to talk with you.
All right.
Thank you very much, Richard. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's 667-7434 if you'd like to write to the Cosmic Connection. That's Post Office Box 86, 186, Portland, Oregon, 97286. Please send a self-addressed stamped envelope. It is an envelope with the Cosmic Connection's address printed on the front that we mail back to you with a self-addressed stamp with enough postage on that letter so we may get your information back to you. Gentlemen, anything else?
John and Bob have both been down to the actual crash site in Roswell and had a look around.
Yeah, we could describe that for you.
Please do.
Basically, there are 2 sites near Roswell, New Mexico that are of interest. One is a site people call the debris site, debris field, and the crash site. What people believe happened is that the object was going towards Roswell. Something happened to it, perhaps exploded, but it rained debris on a farmer's field named Mac Brazel. And the object kept going a little bit farther towards Roswell and then crashed into an area about maybe 20 miles northwest of Roswell or north-northwest. And it crashed into a side of a hillside, so you can still go out to that site. Well, at least Bob and I have been out to the site to take a look at it. It's very intriguing to see witnesses who were there a long time ago pointing out the areas where they said they saw dead alien bodies, and so the story is quite intriguing.
And that is the impact site pointed out by first-hand witnesses.
Right. And that's different than the impact site. Make no mistake about that.
Yeah, there's been
two different sites.
Yeah, there's been several books written about that. Initially, the controversy was over the original site, the Mac Brazel Ranch, and it wasn't until fairly recently that they actually uncovered the site or found out about the site where the bodies were apparently found or supposedly found.
Sure.
And so that's the thing that's the most of interest right now.
So right now the investigation is going towards witnesses, information, documents, so to speak, of the actual impact site. Ladies and gentlemen, if you weren't aware of it, there were two areas, like you just spoke, the impact site and the debris field. The debris field. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like more information on any of these subjects, and you have a computer with the modem, we have the BBS Hangar 18 number, and I believe that is it being flashed on our screen there. And I understand, Dennis, can out-of-state callers on their computers? Since
Sure.
I'm computer illiterate.
Sure, anybody with a telephone and a computer.
Sure, okay. Let's take the next call. Hi, welcome to the Cosmic Connection. Thank you for holding. Hello. Hello. All right, let's take another call, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry we won't be able to take that call. Go ahead. Hello. Okay, they're producing the calls. We had an amazing report from a Richard from 1968 out there in Vietnam in the waters. Speaking of a craft that was seen, we're touching topics on the Roswell. We have some investigators here who have been out to the actual crash site and have spoken with Don Schmidt and Kevin Randall. Let's take that call. Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I'm calling about the professor at Michigan.
A professor in Michigan?
Yeah.
And your name, please?
My name's Bob.
Bob?
Bob Damascus.
All right, Bob, go ahead, pal.
Yeah, I saw in this paper that there's a professor from Michigan or Minnesota, one of those, that was studying a meteor that crashed in Australia, and there was a alien inside, and they actually had a bunch of pictures and photographs, and the guy was studying it and trying to determine how old he was.
Sure.
And they said that he was at least 2,000 years old.
Well, that's fantastic. Why don't you put down some information on that? We'll bring that up on a topic on a future Cosmic Connection. And we thank you very much for that call, Bob. We'll go ahead and produce another call for the Cosmic Connection, live, 667-7434, March 12th. Welcome. Hi.
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Hi. How's it going?
Fine. What's your name and state your piece, friend?
Well, I'd like to keep my name anonymous, so let's just say my name.
All right, we'll just call you Mr. X. Go ahead.
Yeah. I had, this is really hard for me to talk about, but, like,
Well, you called the program. Hi.
Yeah, hi.
All right, when did it take place?
I got a pretty cheesy post.
All right, that's great. Next time, get your notes together, and we'll try it again. And I believe the people back there are producing another call at 667-7434. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've seen this program before, this is a live call and talk show dealing with the UFO investigation. We do a serious report, and if you want to bring something forth that is germane to this program, I invite you to participate. Hello, welcome.
Yes, hello?
Hi.
Hi, a couple shows back I heard a thing about where a guy was out camping and he saw a lot of UFO activity.
Absolutely, I remember the gentleman.
Yeah, I'd just like to know where that is so I can go out there camping.
Okay, well, we're thinking about going out there in May, June, out towards on the opposite side of Mount Hood. That would be the south side of Mount Hood, somewhere in that vicinity. And when we get more details on that later, we'll go ahead and let you know about that. All right?
Oh, great, thank you.
All right, and keep in touch. Now, I thank you for watching those programs.
No,
Did you find them very informative?
Excuse me?
Did you find them informative?
Very much so.
Have you seen anything that you couldn't explain?
I heard something, but I've talked to you before about that.
Sure.
Years ago when I was in Canada, I heard a noise. I was working out in the bush, and, well, it was something we don't know what it was.
Sure.
And,
all right, anything else?
No, that's it.
Well, we thank you very much. I appreciate your participation.
Oh, wait, I want to mention something. Last summer, I was right up by the Terwilliger curbs, about 9:15. I saw a green light in the sky. I came home, and on the news, 11 o'clock news, they were saying it was a meteorite or something like that. Well, I've seen quite a few meteorites, and I've never seen anything like this. And this was just a while before the crop circles. Do you know anything about that green light that was in the sky?
I remember that. Coincidentally, power went out down in southwest Portland at the same time.
Yeah, this light was floating almost, and I have seen quite a few meteorites.
Sure.
It was not a meteorite.
Sure.
Have you heard anything else about that?
No, you're the first one, and maybe that'll jar somebody's memory.
I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very informative. Next caller, please. Hi, welcome to the Cosmic Connection. All right, they're producing. What we're going to do, I want to thank right now the La Costa Mexican Restaurant for providing our crew members here for the fine Mexican cuisine, to take care of the crew for all of our volunteers out there at 7425 Southwest Barber Boulevard. And that would be Roberto Aguilera. Fine gentleman, and we thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about having a little get-together for the viewers of the Cosmic Connection, maybe have a speaker, and inviting some of you people out there. So be sure to stay tuned for that, upcoming in our spring season starting April 8th on Channel 21.
I might mention,
go ahead, Dennis.
That piece of paper you had there dealing with the allegedly live footage of the alien autopsies and the crash site with a disc, a 2-ton crane, and President Truman wandering around in the foreground. That is allegedly celluloid film, original celluloid film taken in the late 40s. And
celluloid film at that time, well, we don't know when the time would be, but celluloid film is pretty hard to doctor.
This would be a tough one to doctor. It's not impossible, but it would be extremely expensive and time intensive just for a joke to spend several millions to do something like this. I don't know, but apparently Fox Network thought that it was genuine enough to where it anteed up and paid for about 15 minutes worth, which it's going to start airing this August.
Yeah, I talked to some of the other researchers about the film, some of the guys doing the research at Roswell, along with Bob and myself. The film is intriguing in that it is apparently, well, reportedly the 1947 vintage material, which is very hard to come by. Now, the interesting part about the film, though, is it tends to contradict some of the quote-unquote common knowledge about the crash, and that is the body that was depicted was closer to 6 feet tall as opposed to the reported size of the creatures, which was 4 feet tall. For people that are familiar with the Roswell crash, there was a mortician named Glenn Dennis in Roswell who got some very strange telephone calls from the base looking for hermetically sealable caskets for children about 4 feet tall. So that's one of the things that the discrepancy that's in the current movie.
Well, now, the fellow that has the film, does he say for sure that this is Roswell or possibly another crash?
That is interesting. I don't know the exact answer to that.
Okay.
It supposedly was Roswell, but I have not heard the people that actually purchased the film say so specifically.
And like Kingman, Arizona, I'm very interested in the Kingman crash, if they're alleged Kingman crash. Next caller, please. Hi, welcome to Cosmic Connection. You're on.
Hello, is that me?
That's you. Hi.
Hi, my name is Larry. I'm from Portland.
Larry, welcome to the show. Thanks, pal.
Sure. What I want to tell you is something that happened to me in 1968 also.
Wonderful.
This is on the island of Molokai in the Hawaiian Islands. I was working on the island. This was one evening, probably in July or August. A friend of mine and I were hitchhiking back to where we were working. This is the middle of the night, moonless night, cloudless also, pitch black, so black that you could hardly see the line down the middle of the road.
Right.
All of a sudden, it was as if somebody had a large flash camera above us. A light flashed on and flashed off. We heard no motors. We saw no craft. And we have no idea, and I have no idea to this day, what that was.
How long was the light on?
The whole area around me was illuminated for an instant. It was very, very intense. Scared the heck out of us.
Sure.
And
were you on land or in a boat?
Pardon me?
Were you on land?
No, we were hitchhiking back to the area we were living at. We had been at Kanakakai, which is a main town on Molokai, and we were hitchhiking back to the area we were living at.
Sure. Well, if you heard the last Cosmic Connection, we did bring up a UFO report. I believe that John, we were talking about Peter Davenport's organization, of which we've had him on as a guest very recently. As the audience may know, he sent me a list of his entire reports that he has taken since he's taken the watch for the last 6 months. Do you have a copy of those?
No, in fact, I talked with Peter yesterday when he called me about the report in Portland. I have not gotten the materials, but he said he was going to send that to me. He's been doing a fantastic job.
Sure has.
He answers that telephone call, does that telephone personally, nearly 24 hours a day.
He sure does.
Doing a great service.
And I might add, Robert Gripple was the gentleman that he took over, and he did a fine job before that. I have also, Mr. Davenport has sent me extensive and detailed copies of reports dealing with Tennessee, Hawaii, Fresno, and all over the United States. So if he doesn't, we'll trade notes, okay? Because some of the stuff I've got is pretty fascinating.
I'm aware of several UFO flaps in Hawaii throughout the years.
All right, I guess we're producing a call. Is that right? And welcome to the Cosmic Connection. Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, hi, this is Kirk in Portland.
Kirk?
Yeah.
Hi, Kirk. K-I-R-K?
That's correct.
Thank you, my friend. Welcome.
Watching you for a while. I appreciate the show.
Thank you.
Hey, back in October, about 10 or 4 in the morning, we had that fireball over Portland, you might recall.
All right.
And to qualify this, I thought it was rather unusual the way the press kind of suppressed it later in the day. It was on the radio initially, then about 4 hours later, nothing in the paper, nothing on the television that afternoon or evening. I'm wondering whatever came of that. Did anybody ever find out what it was or anything like that?
Anybody?
Nope, nothing ever came of it, and officially nobody attempted to find out what it was. Maybe officially they already knew.
I saw in the evening hours about 3 months ago a giant meteorite just drop when I was on the I-5 towards the Washington State area.
Really?
Never heard about it. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Bob.
The person in the Portland area for meteorites is Richard Pugh. He's a teacher at Cleveland High School, and I've called him several times.
Yeah, I spoke with him that morning myself.
Oh, you did call him? What did he say?
He was just gathering information then. Okay. He was very short and concise, and that was that. He was getting a lot of calls that day.
Right. Yeah. Well, I would suggest calling him back and seeing what his conclusions are.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I appreciate the show.
Kirk, thank you very much.
Okay,
have you seen the past Cosmic Connections? We've lost him. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be taking your calls at 667-7434, right? And do we have another caller? Gentlemen, let's kick something else about Roswell around. What's coming new? Anybody? I know you gentlemen have some wonderful contacts. The success of the movie Roswell, and where are we going from now?
Well, the Roswell movie recently came out on videotape. I understand it's very hard to get in the video stores because it's very popular. Bob and I will be going down to Roswell in the near future along with about a dozen other investigators. We'll be following up some leads that have been developed over the past 1 year since the truth about the UFO crash was released. So we'll be down there with Kevin Randall and Don Schmidt. Also, the other big news is that it looks like the GAO, the General Accounting Office, is now finalizing its investigation into the Roswell incident. Now, Congressman Schiff of New Mexico, prompted by several of his constituents, requested this investigation, and apparently it's going to be coming out in a relatively near future. So I don't know what the findings are going to be. The preliminary findings from the Air Force is that there's nothing to this except that it was a balloon, which they call a mogul balloon, which at the time was a secret balloon to look for Soviet detonations of hydrogen bombs. Sure. But I have not heard when the particular date is, but it's on the near horizon.
All right, I understand we have a question about Roswell. Continue. Hello?
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 Hi, welcome to the Cosmic Connection. You have a question dealing with Roswell?
No.
All right, let's hear your question then anyway.
Well, I have a UFO reporting.
All right, let's do that.
I saw a UFO.
All right.
It was on Monday, March 6th, I think. And I live at about just outside of Portland, around Beaverton.
Okay.
And it was like a bluish light.
What time of night?
Like as if it was like a star or whatever. But it seemed to do small movements. just like in its own like circular path.
And this was in the morning?
No, this was at night, about 11:06.
All right.
And I was in bed and I laid back down, and then I looked out the window again and it was still there, but it had seemed to drop a little. And then last time I saw it was like 11:36, and then I couldn't see it anymore.
No kidding. So how long did this go on for? What?
So it went on for about 30 minutes.
No kidding.
Seriously.
All right. Well, we've got that logged on tape, and if anybody saw it, hopefully by April 8th, they'll bring us up on the Channel 11, the MCTV channel for Gresham, on Channel 21. Al, I understand we've produced the Roswell question. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hello. This is Ron. I had a question about the Roswell. About the alien bodies that were found there?
Sure.
Has there been any kind of like autopsy or any information dealing with their chemical makeup and if they're hostile to us as well?
If we could get camera 4 to zoom in on some of the photos we have on the desk there, the illustrations of the aliens. Let's see, they're over on the right-hand side of the desk there.
Well, Ron, it appears that from this statement that I've read, a film has surfaced that some British television producers searching for archival material found or became aware of. Over 100 minutes of film exists, and negotiations are already taking place.
All right, Ron, in the background there you can see a sketch of what the bodies at Roswell looked like according to the first-hand witnesses.
Oh yeah, I see that.
And they look a lot more human than the, quote, grays that most people are familiar with the big black eyes. So it's interesting that these particular occupants look a lot more human than the grays do.
Yeah, there's been no information about what their intent was. Some of the other descriptions of the bodies include like suction cup ends to fingers, which is fairly intriguing. But in terms of why they were there, what they were doing, and things like that, nobody knows.
Well, now that you mention that, suction cup fingers, I just happened to watch the old movie War of the Worlds the other night, and if you recall, the alien at the end of that had suction cup fingers.
That's right.
And when the professor called in, when the professor called in back to his work at the lab that he was late for, he mentioned that he's just south of Corona. I don't know if people caught that, and when he finally got back to the lab, they said, "Oh, great, you made it back," and he said, "Yeah, we had to walk all the way from Corona." And also, the shape of the craft in that movie were triangular shaped, as you see in the sketches on the desk here, along with the alien beings. The craft you see are shaped triangular shaped, just like in War of the Worlds, while the rest of the movies of that era showed the disc-type craft. So I'm just wondering if the producers of War of the Worlds had a little inside information.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Go ahead, Bob.
Just real quick, the skin was supposed to be mesh-like, and the internal organs, they had like the lungs and the heart were like one organ. But one thing about the fingertips that Don was talking about when he did some research, because Don Schmidt's a medical illustrator, so he went and talked to several people. That could have been by the witness that did that was the nurse that talked to Glenn Dennis, and that might have been from the impact and where the fingertips got abrased and would give the appearance of that, not knowing what the internal structure was like. So we don't know if they would be the actual fingertips or them being, damaged by the crash. So that's still speculation as far as that goes. We have had other nurses later on in the years follow up and tell other people, that what they had seen and so on, and it corroborated with the mesh-like skin and the internal organs being different.
Now you say you're going back to Roswell. The only thing to go back to Roswell for are witnesses?
Well, does that answer your question, Ron?
We've lost.
Oh, it looks like we've lost him.
Sure.
Okay.
We're going back to Roswell to look for witnesses, or what? I mean, it's been 47 years.
Well, one of the things that we're going to be talking, we're going to be interviewing witnesses. Yes, you got to remember, not everybody has talked. For example, in the Air Force report, Cavett has told Don and Kevin for all these years that he wasn't even there. Then when they said, "Well, look at Yeah, we've talked to the guy that went with you out to the site. Well, all right, I was there, but I didn't see anything. So finally, when the Air Force came along, they said that they gave him a little paper saying he could that would subvert his oath of secrecy or whatever. And then all of a sudden he says he was there. So you have a lot of witnesses like that other people say, yeah, John, Joe, or Ed were out there, but when you go to talk to them, no, I wasn't there, and here they were there. So we're going to be following up on some of those from what I understand.
Outstanding.
Well, I would mention also that the majority of Roswell witnesses have volunteered to testify before Congress if asked to do so, and the military people, all they've asked is just a release from their secrecy oath.
So we have to find the boss of bosses.
Sounds like it.
All right. I understand we have another call. Hello, welcome.
Hello, this is David from Portland.
Hi, David. Welcome. Thank you.
Can I ask a question other than about Roswell, please?
Sure.
First of all, this is the first time I've watched your program, and I have to admit I'm somewhat of a doubting Thomas, but about a week ago I had rather a strange experience.
Excuse me 1 second. Could we get the inside monitor up a little bit? We can barely hear him.
Can we speak up, please? Go ahead. Just a little louder, please.
Okay, thank you. I have to say I'm rather a doubting Thomas.
All right.
About a week ago I had a rather strange experience with hearing something. And when I mentioned it in passing to a friend of mine who's a UFOologist, he became very excited. Do you have a lot of people calling in and talking about hearing almost a strange whistling noise in the middle of the night that sounds almost like a Morse code signal?
I've not heard any report like that. Seems like the reports we get regarding noises would be humming sound. That's very common. The ringing sound does not sound familiar.
Well,
maybe Bob has.
One other sound that they have recorded is, especially with the abduction scenario, is the tones. There's different types of tones that people will hear.
Well, this was almost, if you're familiar with tinnitus, it's almost a whistling tone, but then in the background was almost like a Morse code or a computer binary signal.
Let me ask you
I woke
a
up in the
weird
middle of
question.
the night, and I thought at first that my radio was on. I checked it, and then I thought, well, perhaps the motor on my refrigerator squealing, but it stopped, and this noise was very distinct and annoying, and I finally fell asleep. The next morning I would have woke up and thought it was a dream, but I felt really funny about it, and I did mention it in passing to this friend, and he said that it was not the first time it had been reported or something.
Well, let me ask you kind of an odd question, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you have the impression that the noise was in your head, or you were actually physically hearing it? This is
well, it's again, I use the analogy of tinnitus. Is tinnitus in your head, or is it a whistling you're hearing? You know, it's hard to define whether it's in your head or something you're listening to.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is that it's intriguing that some studies have been done about the effect of microwaves on the brain, and sometimes microwaves at certain frequencies manifest themselves by ringing sounds. It seemed like you're hearing ringing, but it actually is a sensation actually created in your brain. So that's why I was asking that question.
Sure. Okay, let's take another call. Hi, welcome to the Cosmic Connection. Hello. Go ahead.
I was just going to say before he goes.
He's off.
Right. Well, if he's still listening and
go ahead. Continue. Hi. Welcome to the Cosmic Connection. You're next.
Hello.
Hi.
My name's John from Portland.
Go ahead, John.
I just want to thank you for your commitment to this.
Thank you, John.
Working very hard. My question is concerning a man named Robert Lazar, and he claims to have done re-engineering work for the U.S. government on alien spacecraft. And I've been trying to find if he's published anything, any of his findings, or any of his experiences.
Well, you've come to the right place. You write us a self-addressed stamped envelope, and you mark inside there that you want to listen about Bob Lazar. We'll make that available to you. We have a videotape and some very exciting reading material just for that. Go ahead, John.
Just wanted to comment that Bob and I were down at a place called the Little Ailey Inn, which is near Area 51, and Cosmo has been there as well. We had a chance to actually meet Bob Lazar and talk about his experiences over a beer at the Ailey Inn.
Wonderful.
And he's a very interesting character. One of the things that he has to deal with is his apparent misstatement or whatever about his educational background. He claims to have a degree from MIT and Caltech. Nobody can seem to find. However, his other credentials seem to match with him actually working at Area S4. So he's got some intriguing background, but he's got also a fantastic story. But he comes across very credible when you meet him in person.
And we got to grill him for 2 hours down there at the Little Alien, which was a rare experience also.
That's right. He very rarely comes out in public. He came out to the Alien to really actually help out the owners of the Alien that are sponsoring this conference. But interesting to meet him in person.
Yeah, and as far as not being able to verify his degree at MIT, I would just remind people that he told people that he worked at EG&G. EG&G denied they'd ever heard of him, and when the reporter looked through their own EG&G telephone directory on the desk, lo and behold, there he was. So they were caught lying right there. So I would tend to believe him that there's been an obvious attempt to destroy his background, just eradicate it and erase him out. But probably most directly to the caller's question, yes, Bob Lazar has put out a video detailing what he learned and what he worked on at Area 51.
It's very informative.
Detailing the propulsion system of these alien craft and how they work and our attempts at back engineering it.
All right, let's take another call. Hi, welcome to the Cosmic Connection. Hello.
Hello?
Hi.
Oh, am I on?
Yes, sir.
Hi, how are you? Good evening.
Great, welcome.
I was calling in reference to that little sonic booms. I think it was, last Wednesday, reported over, southwest Washington. Hello?
Yes.
Oh, I was
Can
wondering
you speak up,
if you
please?
guys had heard
You
any...
heard some sonic booms over southwest Washington.
Yeah, actually, they were heard even over Portland.
And your name?
Eric.
Okay, Eric.
And, it was even reported on the radio, KGON. I heard it on the way in, and I guess nobody really knows what it was. I wonder if you guys had heard anything.
Sure.
I heard about it on KEX also, and some of the other news channels. The only thing related to that is a friend of mine called me around 8 o'clock that evening and mentioned he was seeing some funny lights over in southeast Portland, very odd lights.
Really?
And
was that through the BBS?
No, he called me on the phone and told me to run outside and take a look because he saw some very odd lights moving slowly, drifting over southeast Portland, and then were chased by a military helicopter not long after that.
No kidding.
And I called him the next day and asked him if he'd heard about the sonic booms, which he hadn't, so I don't think the two incidents were related other than the fact that they happened on the same night.
Sure, excellent. Okay, all right, we have a couple of questions about Roswell. Hello, welcome.
Hello, how you doing?
Great. Direct your questions, please.
Okay, I'm sorry, this isn't a question about Roswell, but could I ask it anyway?
Sure.
Okay, my name's Rick. I'm from Gresham.
All right, Rick.
I just tuned in a little bit ago and I heard somebody talking about something that happened in Gresham. I just didn't quite hear what it was. Could you tell me real quick what it was?
There were lights and craft of some sort?
Well, we talked about a couple of incidents.
Sure.
One was on Friday night about 9:45. There was a conical-shaped object seen going across the sky south of Portland. It was brightly illuminated and followed by F-16s about 5 minutes later.
All right, and Rick, you're going to want to make sure to tune in to the Cosmic Connection April 8th at 7 p.m. We're going to be on Saturdays on Channel 21, MCTV live at 7 p.m. That's in the Gresham area, the MCTV network. Hello, welcome to the Cosmic Connection. Hello. Hi.
And since as he mentioned, he just caught the last of it, he can catch one of several repeats that will be shown during the next month of the show and catch more details on that sighting.
We're gonna try and do that. See a repeat of this, or possibly the last Cosmic Connection that we've done. Okay. Do we have another call? All right. They're producing. Excellent. I'd like to read this. Okay. Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is John Turbush, and
John, welcome.
Oh,
All right, excellent opinion. I concur with that immediately. What I'd like to read to you, ladies and gentlemen, is through Linda Moulton Howell has told the Art Bell listeners on the Dreamland radio programs about sightings in Gannett, Pennsylvania, that's western Pennsylvania, dealing with flying triangular type craft that have been seen March 3rd at 1:45 p.m. That was a Friday, followed by a Margaret Trujillo Friday the 3rd with a 5-minute observation of seeing craft zip up, down, and sideways. And Pennsylvania UFO investigator Stan Gordon reported that Thursday, March 2nd, weird light beams between 8 and 11:15 p.m. came down to the ground where several television stations and emergency centers received a deluge of calls of these beams of light. And Art Bell has brought up that in 40 states across the United States, weird light beams have been coming down. And I understand we have another caller. Hi, welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Last Saturday night, well, actually this Saturday night, I was talking to my friends about William Cooper. Are you familiar with him?
Yes, we are.
Okay, yeah, it was about 10 o'clock on J. Reeves Hour, 1450 a.m. KPSU, and watch out for the Ric Flairs.
All right, we got another one. All right, and do we have another call after that? Seems to be the fun hour. Hey, that's all right. Ladies and gentlemen, 667-7434, The Cosmic Connection. We have some outstanding guests here, John and Bob and Dennis, our co-hosts today. And let's wrap it up, ladies and folks. Can we state anything on Roswell?
Well, the one thing that's happened recently is, I don't want to go into details because I want the person's permission before talking a lot about it, but I happened to get in contact with a person who looked at some wreckage at the encouragement of the government of some sort, and found very unusual objects or very unusual wreckage. He said he's a metallurgist and also a physics major that specializes in materials, and it was something that he said was bonded at an atomic level or a molecular level. He said something he's never seen, doesn't know how the technology was generated to create this, but this happened in the late 60s, and so it might have been debris from the Roswell crash, maybe not, but more and more people are coming forward talking about their experiences and analyzing some of the debris.
All right, we've got a couple of calls. Let's try them again. Let's run through them real quick. Hi, welcome to the Cosmic Connection. Okay, one more call. Welcome. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I just wanted to kind of validate your guest point about Roswell.
Sure.
I used to know a friend. I still know a friend, but I haven't seen him for a while. But he was a major at that point, and occasionally, very late at night, he would come out and say something to the fact that, yes, it happened, but I can't go into it. And I know he would always say during the daylight hours, and that I can't talk about anything that happened there, period. But he did validate it to me.
And this was a relative of yours?
Hello, caller.
Hello.
Yeah, this was a relative of yours.
A friend of mine.
All right.
And in fact, it was in Corona. The reason you mentioned Corona is funny. It was in Corona, California, where he lived.
Well, we're talking about Corona, New Mexico.
Oh, New Mexico. Okay.
But go ahead, John.
Yeah, we would actually like to get this person's telephone number. If you could leave your telephone number with the producer or else after the show.
What they can do is they can, if you could call us after the program at 667-7434, caller. Okay. If you could call us at 667-7434 after the program, if you have any information that you'd like us to look into and bring out to the audience in Portland. Our hour's just about up. 1 minute, guys. Anything left?
That sounded interesting. Too bad we lost him. I'd like to hear more of what he had to say.
Maybe he'll call back after the program. We'd be happy to talk to him. The BBS number.
I hope he does.
And our BBS number is, for Hangar 18 is
771-9008.
And if you have a computer with the modem, you're going to want to get online on our Hangar 18 BBS number. I'd like to close the end of the show with thanking all of the callers for calling and writing. I've received the mail. A lot of you have received the packets of information that have been requested. We have videotapes, UFO 101 and UFO 102, that have been very popular. I want to tell you that our next season will be Saturday, April 8th at 7 p.m., MCTV Channel 21 in the Gresham. I want to remind you, as a side note, Joe Mazza, the great entertainer, the Cosmic Connection has been on Joe Mauser's live coast-to-coast program emanating from Boston, Mass., from KBNP, local Portland area, AM radio station, 1410 Portland. The Cosmic Connection will be on tonight at 11 p.m. across the United States. Some of you in the Portland area will be able to pick up that KBNP AM frequency. I want to thank Moosehead, Steve Johns at the Moosehead, for helping the local bands here. Want to let you know for some of the concert dates up. Porcelain God, March 17th, that's St. Patrick's Day. Ivan Hunter, March 18th. Fall from Grace, March 24th. No Motive, March 25th. War Pigs and Desmodus, April 1st. That's an April Fool's Day program with War Pigs and Desmodus. Diamond Edge, who have been featured on this program, will be playing at the Moosehead with new music from Diamond Edge. April 28th and 29th at 9 p.m. Want to thank Steve Jonas of the Moosehead, the La Costa, my friends. Roberto Aguilera, La Costa at 7425 Southwest Barbara Boulevard. That's Barbara Boulevard in Twiga. We thank them very much for their fine Mexican cuisine. Next program, ladies and gentlemen, April 8th, Channel 21 at 7 p.m. We're going to be on Saturdays now. For those of you who watch Channel 11, Friday, April 21st, Fridays at 11 p.m., CAN Channel 11, Portland area. So I want to thank Soren with Odie, Jonah, Tag, Soul, Billy Goodman. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, Portland. Until next time, thank you.